Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Sunday, February 6th. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good weekend. We'll jump right into things. Richie, how you doing this morning? Afternoon. We're afternoon right now.
Yeah,
I was late.
Yeah, I've actually, it's wild because we've been doing like 11 a.m. Most Sundays now, so we got pushed back to 12:30. But it was nice. I've already been to Publix, did all my grocery shopping for the week, cleaned the kitchen, got the floors done. So a very productive Sunday morning.
No doubt. Glad to be here this morning. Afternoon. Sorry, I'm going to keep messing that up because again, used to it being a little bit earlier, but a fun weekend, a good weekend. Hey, we did Disney Friday and Saturday. Wow. I'm exhausted. I'm worn out. We've got people coming over as soon as this podcast is done. So crazy times in the Pittenger house. But what'd you guys do? We went to Disney. So like, I don't really need to explain that to anybody. I feel like everybody knows what that entails with little kids, but it was fun. We had a good time. My legs are sore. My feet are sore. I was telling my buddy this morning, I was telling David this morning from the Baristas company that is now a sponsor of FSU that we'll talk about in just a minute. I feel old now. I'm not quite as old as you, but I do feel old after walking around the parks for 2 days.
So Lindsay's best friend, her and their family they live in Chicago, but they're taking a Disney cruise this week. So we actually met her and her husband out at Disney Springs Friday night. And it was just miserable. As soon as I got out of the parking garage, I'm like, look, walking around, there's way too many people here for like a random Friday night in February. But it was fun. Went and had some drinks, got to catch up with them. So I too did Disney, just a little different than you did this weekend.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get older. We got to Epcot, and I was really excited about getting a margarita. My wife, who is 6 months pregnant, was like, I can't believe you'd get a margarita right in front of me. Like, that's really rude. And I was just like, yeah, but I'm not the one that's like, why should I have to, but then we started the spaces like right as we were, and she was already mad about that. We did the spaces live from Epcot with Newberg over the weekend. And I couldn't like double piss her off. Like it was either spaces or margarita. So it was the spaces. So shout out to anybody that listened to spaces. You trumped my margarita on Friday. Lot to get to today. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. You can visit both of their locations at 1818 West Tennessee Street and 2550 North Monroe. I just spoke with Harlan this morning, and I think I'm going back up to Tallahassee the end of this month. Just about every FSU sport like athletic program plays on the 25th. Baseball's there, softball's there, men and women's tennis is there. There's just a lot going on that weekend. So I think I'm going to try and go back up that weekend. And I'm not on Hole 30. Not that I really was last time I was up there anyway. But I'm going to I'm going to go back and get my box Double Fries No Slaw. Shout out Charlie again for the worst fast food order of all time. But I'm going no slaw, and I'm going to hit that up. Okay, one more food item. I went by, if you listen to the spaces this week or if you follow FSU football, this wasn't in the outline, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Florida State, Richie, you saw this because I just know you did. So I'm not going to ask you, did you see this? Like it's, terrible radio. But FSU has an official empanada right now. Yeah. Okay, be honest. Because I was talking with their owner this morning. You can be honest here. What was your first thought when you saw that?
I'm fine with it. No, I'm fine because anytime I see Florida State has an official something, that means they're getting dollars for the university and the athletics department, hopefully. So I'm good with it. It can be an official empanada. They can have an official chicken wing, an official hamburger. I don't care. Get an official everything if people are willing to pay money. But I do think they made a good choice because we were talking off air. Sounds like this place is pretty legit. You ate there this morning.
Yeah, it was really good. Okay, can I be honest with you? Hopefully I don't get in trouble and ruin all the goodwill that I built up this morning by hanging out with their owner. And bro, their stuff is fire too. Like, I'm not even kidding. Yeah. And I had already eaten this morning. So I wasn't even really like, I'm hungry, so everything tastes good. Like, no, I had cereal and stuff with my mom. So we stayed with my mom this weekend. I got there. It was amazing. Like I had the Nutella empanada. Like we hear that and you're like, I don't know. Amazing.
That sounds
so good.
That sounds really good.
Yeah. All over
Nutella
his face. She was, my kid got it everywhere. Like I'm cleaning out of her car seat and everything when we got home a few minutes ago. So I also had the carne, the beef, everything they had. They had a They had a cheese bread. Just okay. I can't spend all day talking about what they have, but just I can't tell you everything on air. Some of this is like off air stuff. There's some really good stuff coming to like FSU sporting events, thanks to them. The press area, some exclusive stuff. It's going to be really, really cool. But when I first saw the press release, I was like, what are we doing with an official empanada? Just like, what is going on here? And now that I've learned more about it and what their vision is, what their mission is, and I've tasted the empanadas, I'm going to be like, I probably will miss the baseball game when I go up there because I'll just be in line for empanadas the whole time. They sent us home. Well, I don't want to make people jealous, but they sent us home with a big box of stuff, a big box of empanadas. My wife was mad at me because she's like, hurry up in there. But then when he brought the box out, she was pretty happy. Great cafe con leche. Those people are the real deal. So more to come from Brisas. Really, really good stuff. I mean, and I've got enough food to last me for the rest of the day from them. So I don't have to cook or anything the rest of the day. So I'm excited for that. And Florida State fans should be too. There's a lot of really good stuff coming from them over the next couple of weeks, months, years. But I can't. But it's all like hush hush. So you'll find out more as time goes. I can't spill all the beans here. All right, what happened this week, Richie? Big news. FSU schedule was released last Monday, the day after we were last here on the podcast. I'm going to pull the schedule up here in just a minute, and we'll kind of jump into talking about. I don't know if we'll go game by game or not, but we'll talk about the schedule, different things here. Initial reactions to the schedule coming out.
I mean, my initial reaction is someone in the ACC office was looking out for Florida State because we discussed it last week, how Ed Kennedy over at doublefriesnoslaw.com did a great article, not just guessing the schedule, but using, some educated guesses based on who teams were playing weeks prior, weeks after, if they already were locked in. So we had two options, either have a bye against LSU or play Clemson. Obviously, you don't want to play Clemson a week after LSU, whether you win or lose that game. The buys that some people were a little upset about where they're at because we don't have a buy ahead of any rival. I love where the two buys are at, and I think the schedule sets up nicely. I don't look at any stretch and say, whoa, that's going to be rough. Obviously, Wake, NC State, Clemson stands out, but if that's the worst of the schedule, then that Mike doesn't have any excuses right now because on the surface, it looks very manageable. Now we'll see what these teams look like after spring, after more transfers. Once the season gets going, none of us thought Florida or Clemson would be as bad as they were last year. So we'll see. Maybe a team surprises us and is much better than we thought. But initial reaction, I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I like the way it sets up. I think that it is very manageable at the beginning. I think there's a tough I think it's manageable in September. I think it's tough in October. And then I think in November, it's manageable. I wouldn't call any of it easy. When you look at a team that's won 8 games over the last 2 years, it'd be really, really tough to say like, oh, this is a surefire win or loss or whatever. But I think it's very, very manageable. Let's add this to the stream real quick and kind of look at it quickly. And then we will we'll go over the schedule much more in depth as time goes on and as different things are kind of happening. But let's start with this and we'll kind of share some thoughts, give some thoughts, and then move on because we'll have plenty of time for schedule talk. Week 1, week 0, really. This is not a surprise to anybody. This was already scheduled. In fact, these first 2 were already scheduled. You've got as close to a sure win as can be with Duquesne coming to Doak Campbell Stadium. I would expect this to be a night game. I would think that this is one that Florida State, because they're a premier program and playing on a week where there aren't many games, I would expect this to be a Saturday evening game. So a lot of excitement, not so hot. Florida State should come out here and take care of business. Week 1, again, not a lot of shock there. LSU week 2, I like the little bit of extra time. So you get a little bit more than a full week. I mean, LSU has the whole offseason to prepare. So I don't know that it's a huge advantage because they don't play a week 0 game. But you have a little bit of extra time. Get this on a Sunday night. And we knew about these 2. But then, like Ed said, you get a bye week for week 3, and it catches us back up so that we're kind of on pace with everyone else because week 0, week 1, bye week, and then Louisville. And this is where I want to get your thoughts, Richie, because we knew about the first 2, so sorry to kind of keep rambling. But I think that you've got this game on a Sunday, this LSU game on a Sunday, and then you've got Louisville on. When I highlight, does it show up any of the highlights? Yeah. You've got Louisville on a Friday, and so any other situation where you would have a Sunday game and then a Saturday game, that's a short week. Anytime you'd be playing Louisville on a Friday, that would obviously be a short week. But because there's a bye sandwiched in between there, you get the advantage of playing both of those on a little bit longer weeks, and it does set up really, really well. Clemson after LSU would have been very tough on a short week, and then you had another short week going to the Louisville game. Instead, you've got a long bye extension and then an extra day for preparation for Boston College because you played Louisville on a Friday. So thoughts on Louisville on that Friday as our first ACC game of the year?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Louisville, obviously, the game ended up being kind of close, but Louisville kind of dominated the first, 45 minutes of that game. Worth noting, Jordan Travis didn't play. That was a Mackenzie Milton game. So very interesting to see what happens when we go up there. I like the idea of getting to Louisville on in September as opposed to late in the season. It doesn't get super cold in Louisville, but they do have some weekends where, you just rather play in what you're used to, which is heat and humidity for most of these players on the roster. Mm-hmm. They'll probably be favored by, again, this game's 7 months away, but I'd expect them to be favored by 3 points or so. But a game definitely Florida State can win in the type of wins that in year 3, Mike Norvell needs to start stacking up, because it close 50-50 losses. Okay, we saw enough of those the first 2 years. Now let's get over the hump and win that. And I think opening the ACC season with a win at Louisville would be a huge, especially when you have Boston College coming back to Tallahassee the next weekend.
I love Florida State coming off of a bye here. I would have thought this would be, even if it was a Saturday game, I would have thought this would be very, very difficult. We saw what happened last year with an emotional loss, and I'm not counting the LSU game as a loss. We'll break that down later, but I think Florida State has a great chance in that game. But within a very emotional Notre Dame game, and what ended up happening after they played them, right? Like they had the Jacksonville State game, the letdown there, the kind of horrific loss against them. So I like the week off for Louisville. The game's not a sure thing.
Louisville's on a short week. They play that Saturday at UCF, and then so they only have 6 days rest versus 12 days for Florida State.
And travel within there as well. Travel back
from Orlando to Louisville, back to Florida.
Yeah. So, they traveled twice within that short week. So sets up really, really nice. Oh no, that game's in Louisville. So they're just traveling back to.
No, it's at Orlando. It's at the Bounce House.
Right. But they're not coming back to Florida for the game against.
Oh,
they're just traveling back. Yeah. I was thinking they were traveling 2 days, and I was like, wow, they really got screwed. But also, shout out Bourbon on a Budget. I'm definitely going to that game, and Brendan and I are definitely going and doing some bourbon hunting that week. So that'd be a good one for FSU. When you're looking at like an away game to go to, come drink some bourbon with us up in Louisville. Yeah, that's a tough. I mean, that game's not a walk in the park, but I do think like if you have Jordan Travis in that game last year, you probably end up winning it. Defense played really, really well second half, not so well first half. If you can just kind of keep them from getting off to a really, really hot start, you'll have a great chance in that game. Nothing's a sure thing. Louisville's not a great team. And if we're healthy, I like us there. Getting to come home, a little bit of an extended, longer week because you do play on a Saturday. BC at home. BC returning their quarterback, Jerkovich, who is very good, but looks good against them last year on the road. Kind of fought off a big comeback effort by them and got the win. This is another must win for FSU. I don't think it's, you lose this game and somebody's getting fired, but I do think that this is the kind of game that sets the tone for the rest of the season. If you're not beating BC, you're probably not beating teams like the next 3 that we play. So BC on September 24th. I think Florida State has a really, really good chance to go 3-1 or 4-0 to start the season. It all kind of comes down to that LSU game. But if you beat LSU, I like you in both of these next 2 games.
Yeah, and I really like that we do get Duquesne, like the traditional, what you would expect, tune-up game that we used to see to start seasons. So I love that we play. So if you get out of that Duquesne game healthy, I think big advantage Florida State, just because you've played a game, you've done it. Obviously, you're going to New Orleans. It'll probably be a LSU heavy crowd, but who says Florida State can't pack half the stadium, guys? But boosters are taking ticket requests. Buy one and get to that. But yeah, BC, I think that's a perfect home opener for ACC play. And again, like you said, a game you definitely should win. We'll stress this again. This is Mike Norvell's third year, so that there's a lot less excuses that are available. And if he can beat Louisville, Boston College, we're going to beat Duquesne. Like you said, you could be 3-1, and if you upset LSU, who I don't think will be a huge favorite, it's not a stretch to say they could be 4-0. Do I think they will be? Probably not, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. If they get into October with a 4-0 record, they will probably be ranked and have a whole ton of good things going on for them. They get this Wake Forest team, which the only game that really wasn't close this year for Florida State was the Wake Forest game. I do think that game was a little bit closer than the final score indicated. Down 3 scores, Florida State drove inside of Wake Forest 22 times and came away with 0 points, two drives in a row, and got a stop in between those 2 drives. That would have made it a 1-score game if Florida State could have put the ball in the end zone twice. So I think they were close. I think that they were kind of knocking on the door at times right there and just couldn't get over the hump. I would expect this to be a closer game, but I think this is that tough October stretch that I was talking about. Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson in back-to-back-to-back weeks. No bye in between any of it. You do get the bye after Clemson. And I hate to sound like a negative, like super negative on this, but these are teams that you went 0-3 against last year. If you offered me 1-2 in this stretch right here, I might take it because I'm worried about it. Like this, to me, this is the toughest part of the schedule.
Yeah.
And if we can go 4-0 or 3-1 to start the year, I would take 1-2 here. I know that's defeatist. I know that it's very early. I might tell some lies after the spring game, but I think 1-2 here would be really, really good. Obviously, if you can get to 2-1, you can upset. Florida State's probably going to be an underdog in all 3 of these games, maybe just 2 of them, but certainly going to be an underdog against Clemson and at NC State. So I think 1-2 is realistic, and 1-2 is it's what I would take out of these 3 tough games back to back to back against 3 physical teams. I think that's a really tough stretch for FSU.
So I think the silver lining here, Wake Forest hosts Clemson the week before they come to Tallahassee, and NC State is at Clemson the week before they come to Florida State. So the ACC really did us some favors there. I know we love to, complain about how the ACC is out to get us, but getting 2 teams back-to-back that are coming off of a game against Clemson and then playing Clemson next, it is a tough stretch and definitely the toughest 3-week stretch of the season. But again, you got to play these teams eventually, and the schedule could have set up a lot worse, like we've already discussed. Just line it up and play it because it is a tough stretch. I do agree 1-2 is nothing to be upset about, but find a way to go 2-1. I'm not going to talk about a 3-0 in that stretch, but yeah, go 2-1 there. And again, these are the type of stretches that Florida State fans are eager to see in a coach's 3rd season.
So I've gone back and forth on this. We get the bye week after Clemson and then Georgia Tech. I've gone back and forth thinking, man, I would have really liked that bye before Clemson, so we had 2 weeks to prepare for it, as opposed to after Clemson. But I think that I'm going to go back to my homer mentality here, and I'm going to say I actually like the bye after Clemson, and here's why. Bye before Clemson or not, I think Clemson's beating us this year. Like, I don't mean to sound super negative. I don't mean to sound like, oh, we have no shot or anything like that. But Clemson's probably winning that game one way or the other.
They should, yeah.
But you get a bye week the week after Clemson, and you get a lesser opponent, a Georgia Tech team that we've struggled with teams in Atlanta in the past. But you get that at home. You get 2 weeks to prepare for them. You get 2 weeks to rest up after a very physical stretch of Wake, NC State, and Clemson, and you should beat Georgia Tech. Clemson's probably a loss either way, whether there's a bye or not. So I like the fact that there's a bye before Georgia Tech because to me that is a must win and a should win and a will win. Florida State will win that game against Georgia Tech. So I actually like the bye after. I think, again, that's a favor to us. Now, I think anyone would like a bye before Clemson. I'm totally on board with that. I think there's a reason they didn't do that because Clemson doesn't have a bye the week before us, do they? I think they try to even those things out. So I like the bye before Georgia Tech, and I like us to win that game. We got to start beating the teams at the bottom of the barrel in the ACC. So
yeah, that's one of those. If you tell me heading into the season we're going to lose to Georgia Tech, I'm telling you that's not great for Coach Norvell. But I'm on your page. That's a game Florida State should win. Obviously, we remember the Jeff Sims game after, the Boise game got scrapped and they came to Doak and beat us in the first game that year. But I'm sorry, Jeff Collins is on his way out at Georgia Tech, and this might be to the point in the season where a Florida State win could be it for him. I don't see him getting to the end of the season. So again, like you said, a game you need to win this one.
Yeah, there are some. We'll talk about the schedule more in depth as time goes on, but there are some absolute must wins for Florida State, and I think Duquesne, Louisiana, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse are those games.
Yeah,
those 4 games have to be won. And not that if you lose one of those, if you lose a Duquesne game, it might be trouble. But not that any of those are like, not that any of those are like fireable offenses. Because you could, if you upset Clemson but lose to Louisiana, I mean, nobody's going to love that, but kind of evens out, right? If you are losing to the Georgia Techs and the Syracuses and the Louisianas of the world, how in the world are you ever going to be competitive against the Miamis and the Floridas and the other teams like that? So we get into November. And this is where I think the schedule is very, very manageable. You go to Miami, to Syracuse, and then at home against Louisiana, and then at home against Louisiana 2.0, the Friday night game against the Gators in Doak. I know there's a lot of talk about the Friday night game there, but I think the Miami and Florida games are complete coin flips. You beat one of those teams by 3. You lost to the other one by 3. You could very easily go 2-0, 0-2, or 1-1 in those games. And I would not be shocked with any result of those 4. And I think sandwiched in between there, you've got 2 wins. I think you beat Syracuse. I think you beat Louisiana. So I like the way that this schedule shakes out in November as well. Miami game will be a ton of emotion, a ton of pressure, a ton of hype, a ton of intensity. Same thing with the Florida game at the end. Got a great chance to go and win. I think in November, you need to go 3-1. You drop one game to a rival, and nobody wants to do that. But it happens, right? You beat one of these teams by 3, you lose by 3 this year. You're not going to win every single rivalry game, right? Jimbo's not here. But 3-1 in this November stretch would go a long way, and I think would be really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it sucks that this is the way it is, but it would really suck if you beat Miami, Syracuse, Louisiana, and then lose to Florida to end the season, right? But at that point, at least you're most likely going to a bowl game, because if you have 3 wins in November, you're going to be playing in a bowl, because like you said, there's going to be 3 other wins on there. But yeah, like you said, Louisiana, I know they finished in the top 20 this year. They lost their coach. They lost half their roster to graduation, and they lost the other half to the transfer portal to go to other schools. So that is a game that they should absolutely win. And like you said, Miami and Florida, 2 teams. Miami hired, shout out to them, about called him Manny Mario, hired Michigan's offensive coordinator today, gratis. I think that's a really good hire, but it's weird fit, in my opinion, a run-heavy offensive coordinator down in South Florida. But like you said, 3-1 in that stretch would be a win, in my opinion, because that means you probably have 7-8 wins on the season, which you really need to get to this year.
Yeah, when you look at it by quadrants or like months, thirds or whatever, in that first 4-game stretch, Duquesne, LSU, Louisville, Boston College, I think 2-2 or 3-1 is very attainable. I do think the Wake, NC State, Clemson, Georgia Tech stretch is a little bit tougher. I think 2-2 is probably about as good as it gets there. It might even be 1-3 if you drop those first 3 and then beat Georgia Tech. But I think if you go 2-2 to start, then 2-2 in the middle, and then 3-1 to finish, 2-2-3 is 7 wins. If you find another win anywhere in there, I think that gets you to your 8 wins, which would be an incredible season. And I think one that would show true progress. So 7-8 wins. Where are you at on the win totals?
Yeah, and it's so tough to say right now, because we don't know what the roster is going to look like after spring and then heading into fall camp. But again, like I said, to open the show, I think the schedule sets up nicely. I'm going to go a little conservative. I definitely think there's a path to 8, maybe even 9 wins if you get a couple breaks. I'm going to say 7-5 for right now, just to be on the conservative end, because I've overestimated our win total every year since we started the show, TJ. So I'm trying to bring it down a little bit.
I like 7 wins as well. I think that if you can somehow upset LSU, which I think the Florida State will have a great chance to do. If you can upset LSU, you'll have a great chance to get to 8, because you really should start 4-0 if you upset LSU. And then once you're 4-0, even if you did drop 2 of the next 3 to the tough stretch of Wake, NC State, and Clemson, then you are, if you're 1-2 after 4-0, then you're 5-2. You're 6-2 with a win against Georgia Tech, and then you just got to win 2 of these 4 to get to 8 wins, right? And I think those 2 are right there in Syracuse and Louisiana. So I think 8's possible if you beat LSU. If you lose to LSU, you really have to be careful to not drop another one to a BC or a Q's, because that's when it really would start to, like, oh man, we're fighting to get to 6 at this point, right? Like our 7 number becomes tough.
Yeah. And you can't lose to LSU and Louisville back to back, especially with a bye, because then you're going a full month without a win. And it's just that mentality of, oh man, here we go again. It's been 24 days since we won a football game. We need those eras of Florida State football to be well behind us. So LSU, Louisville, based just on that alone, to me, might be the most important 2-game stretch, because you got to win one of them.
Yeah. And if you win both, you set up the rest of the season for just who knows what. So Anyway, all right, good stuff. Good stuff there with the schedule. Excited. We'll continue to break that down. Ed Kennedy has a piece he's working on that will be coming out on kind of some of our early schedule thoughts with different folks here at the podcast. So stay tuned for that at doublefriesnoslaw.com. Oregon State Director of Player Personnel, Derek, can you pronounce this last name for me?
Yeah, the Y is silent, so it's just Ray.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, man, I don't know if you just had a typo here. I've been disconnected the last couple of days. Hired for newly created general manager position at FSU. We talked about it a little bit in the spaces, but do you want to enlighten these people on what a general manager does in college football?
I would love to if I had any idea. It sounds like a lot of these schools are starting to add these type of positions with random names. Like Florida's got someone named a game change coordinator. People are just throwing titles out there. But from what I understand, he's definitely going to be heavily involved in organizing the recruiting efforts on campus for Florida State and a little bit outside of campus. So when they host these junior days or recruiting weekends, he's going to have a big say in what happens. He survived a head coaching change at Oregon State, which is very rare. Typically, new coaches come in and just clean house. But Oregon State elected to keep him on despite a coaching change. Heavy West Coast guy, ties to Fresno State. Mike Norvell's knowing him. And again, he's just someone to come in and make Norvell's job and the assistant coach's job that much easier when it comes to recruiting weekends. And we'll see what other roles he has from there. So it's a very similar role to what he had in Director of Player Personnel at Oregon State. But again, at Florida State showing a commitment, that type of position isn't cheap. I think, Newberg hinted it'd be close to $250,000. That's a big investment. So Florida State fans should be excited about that. Because again, we're all saying we want this team to be committed. Well, hires like this, creating a brand new position at $250,000, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Love the commitment there. Love to kind of see what happens there. Florida State's been very active in some of their off-field hiring. They're not doing the UF thing where they're creating a press release for every
for every single person,
for every smoothie maker that gets hired on staff. But they've been very effective with their off-field hires this year. So excited to see that. NIL talk. Speaker of the House, the state of Florida, Chris Sprouse, has some concerning comments about NIL, not being a big fan of the amendment that Dylan Gibbons and others have been pushing. And Chris LaMarca and Matt Gates and different people in the state of Florida have all kind of been behind. Speaker of the House, Chris Sprouse, concerning comments this week, just dumb, ignorant things like every kid getting a sports car and everything else. And even if they were, I asked Josh this the other day, what's the issue with that? Is it a bad thing for a 19-year-old to have a sports car? Is that, anyway, just an idiot. So hopefully we can kind of apply enough pressure. We had a really, really good conversation on the Twitter Spaces on Friday while I was at Epcot getting cussed out by my wife. So check out the Twitter Spaces. It's on my profile. That one didn't get uploaded to Patreon because I was at Epcot and couldn't upload it. But go to my Twitter profile, scroll back a day or two, and you should be able to find that Spaces that we chatted with U.S. representatives. We chatted with Dylan Gibbons. We chatted with different people about that NIL talk, but hopefully something that does not get killed or shot down over the next few weeks, because it is very important for Florida to kind of get on the right track there.
Yeah, and I was listening to that space with Dylan Gibbons when he was kind of hanging out for the whole hour there. And man, if the state of Florida, not just Florida State, the big three, if you need an NIL lobbyist, hire Dylan Gibbons right now. because he even quoted one of the tweets about NIL saying, yeah, I've raised $200,000 for people in need, and it could have been a lot more if we didn't have these restrictions in Florida. So like you said, I think Chris Browse, I think it's more ignorance than anything. I know Josh kind of jokes, well, he went to Stetson, so he doesn't get the idea of a big Florida football school. But you're the Speaker of the House in the state of Florida, representatives. We're not talking politics. We're talking paying college football players. Like that should not be a controversy. And restricting Florida compared to states like Texas with the expectation that, they'll tighten up their restrictions to more line up with Florida. That's a bad game plan, in my opinion. You need to say, no, if things do start to tighten up throughout the country, we can follow suit. But restricting, 3 major national brands that are all housed in your state because you think everyone's getting a BMW to drive to campus, it's crazy to me. And it's hopefully
pretty asinine.
Yeah. And hopefully he does talk with a guy like Dylan Gibbons and he can explain, listen, this is what I did for, Peyton, get Peyton to Tallahassee, like stuff like that.
Timothy,
excuse me. Peyton was a different one that I actually went to high school with, but yeah, get Timothy to Tally, like stuff like that. That wouldn't have happened without name, image, and likeness in Florida. And of course, not every kid's going to do that. Of course, some kids just want to stack their bank account as much as they can. But like you said, what's the problem with that? Anyone else, if I'm a student and I go famous gaming on Twitch in high school and I get to Florida State, I can make $1 million a year just streaming my gaming. I guarantee you he doesn't have a problem with that. So yeah, I just think he needs to better inform himself before making a comment like that.
Yeah, for sure. It was very, very frustrating to hear that because you do see so many good things done by people like Dylan and Jordan Travis has done great things with Dylan and different people. It's frustrating to hear comments like that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong for somebody who, not to take it political, but for somebody who, Chris Rawls believes in free market capitalism. It's frustrating to hear that he would argue capitalism for 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It's okay for him to make money, but it's not okay for these kids to be making money. And so that is frustrating. And this is not so we're a Florida State podcast, right? We, if you haven't figured that out 32 minutes into this, we support Florida State. We talk about Florida State. That's our focus. But this is not a Florida State problem. This is if you're a Gator fan, if you're a Cane fan, if you're a UCF fan, if you're a USF fan, this is a problem for all of us. This is not just like Florida State, Dylan Gibbons talked about it, or Florida State's in Tallahassee. This is a problem for the Gators too. And this is a problem for Miami too. We talk about, how are we going to keep our kids in state and how are we going to keep them from going to Alabama and Clemson, Ohio State, and these different places. We're probably not going to keep them from doing that, but I know we have no chance if this isn't passed and amended. So continue to tune in the spaces, continue to kind of follow Dylan Gibbons and his work. And we'll kind of try and keep you guys updated on it as well. Because it's a state issue. It's not just, the kids in Tallahassee. Rough week for FSU hoops. We don't have a basketball minute this week because it would just be depressing. Rough week for hoops. Losses at Clemson and at home to not VT, but Wake Forest.
That was yesterday. Last week. I'm all over the place.
Florida State made a push late yesterday. I was watching it on my phone at the Magic Kingdom, but just could not come up with the win. Wake Forest wins, Clemson wins, and our tournament hopes are on absolute life support. Obviously, you could win and get in later in the year, and Florida State's shown the ability to win big games, but injuries are absolutely piling up. Love the kids' fight. I love the kids' effort. Mills hit a huge 3 to cut it to 1 yesterday, and you felt like, we might be able to steal this thing. Love the way the kids play. There's just so many injuries. It just doesn't feel like our year, but you can play your way in, and we'll see kind of what happens. I do think if you won out from here, you would probably get in with some wins down the stretch. But, Pitt on Wednesday night, UNC Saturday, obviously need to go 2-0 in those games. UNC got trounced last night by Duke in Coach K's final performance there at the Dean Dome. So, tough one, tough couple this weekend for FSU hoops. The weatherman's gotten in, though. That's been fun to watch. Is it Pietro? Am I saying that right?
Prieto.
Watch him.
Harrison Prieto. Yeah, well,
he's gotten in Got a double-double last night, right? That was fun.
That's how bad it is for Florida State. And this is not a shot against Hudson Prieto, because I was tweeting him nonstop or about him nonstop yesterday afternoon. But when you're down 3 starters and you have a walk-on coming in who damn near had a double-double in the first half alone, finished with 13 points, 13 boards, a great performance. At one point, Florida State from the field, taking away Prieto, was 1 of 22. You're not going to win a lot of games
really bad
shooting that poorly. The injuries, Osborne obviously done for the season. We saw Naheem Cloud is out now. Tanner Ngom got hurt like 6 times yesterday during the game. It kept coming out, going back in, and they just didn't have it. And like you said, the tournament's on live support. I fully expect when the most bracket projections are dropped tomorrow, Florida State's not even in like the first 4 out or next 4 out. But if you win these last 7 games and then win a game or 2 in the ACC tourney, sure. Right now, I believe they're 6th or 7th in the conference standing. So they would have 1 bye, which would mean they'd have to win 4 games in 4 days to win the ACC tournament. Not out of the realm of possibility, just not at all what I expect to see. I don't think this is a NCAA tournament team. I don't know if there's an NIT this year or whatnot. I don't really care. But yeah, this has been a brutal. You win 6 games in a row, Miami twice, Duke once, you're top of the ACC standings, and then you lose 4 straight to, quite frankly, 3 bad teams in a pretty solid Wake team that will be in the tournament. Disappointing. I thought about doing a basketball minute with like funeral music behind us today, but I just didn't have time. But there will be at least one more before the season is over. I can promise you that.
Yeah, for sure. And if not, we'll just do one for the women at the end of the year. And so that'll work.
There we go.
No, frustrating and stinks to see, because there was so much positive momentum with the team and things did look really good. But they maybe were playing above their heads just a bit there. And so
real quick though,
try and regroup and go from there.
Yeah, and the team has not looked good, but TJ, get the tweet ready, because what does look good right now is all of this new merch from 199 Threads. They are at 199_threads on Twitter. I love how they do this. They do a lot of their new merchandise drops around basketball games. So they probably planned that Wake Forest Florida State would be a bigger game than it was. They didn't know Florida State would struggle this much, but they did a combo Florida State Wake Forest drop. You can see it right there. I'm wearing the pullover currently in there. So if you're watching this live or on the replay, phenomenal pullover. Order a size up, guys. I ordered a medium originally. It was far too small, but got the large here. It's great quality. They have a lot of good stuff. I have the white basketball shorts. I'm definitely going to get those gold ones. But anytime they do a new merch, we told them we'd be happy to shout them out and share it with them. So definitely pick some up. I know TJ is about to get some most likely as well.
Yeah, no, super excited for them. I like their releases. Their releases are really, really cool the way they do them with the big games. So go check them out for sure. Talking about basketball, Pitt at home on Wednesday night, UNC on the road on Saturday. Got to get that win Wednesday night and then see what happens from there. So pick up a win and then move on, go on, and we'll be set. Hey, I went to the tennis match last night in Lake Nona. Both FSU's men's and women's tennis teams took on the Gators, same place that we saw the Sweet 16 last year. And it was cool because both matches were happening at the same time. So you could literally just look over your left and see the women, look over your right and see the men. They both fell. The Gators won both of those, but both teams played really, really well and are starting to come together. Florida State's women had a full their full roster together for the first time this year, and you can tell they're still like early kind of playing with that full roster. But I was talking with Coach Hyde this morning, which we got to get her back on and get her back up to Alford's record. But they're really putting things together and really starting to learn how to like gel and play as a team, and going to be a dangerous team as time goes on. They play that weekend that I was talking about going up there, that last weekend of February. So I'm going to try and go check them out when I go up to the baseball game as well. Check out doublefriesnoslaw.com for a full update of who is playing what, when, and where for FSU athletics. Mike Ferguson does a great job of keeping you updated with who's playing when, who played yesterday, what games are coming up. And so check them out. He goes much more into depth than we're able to here on the show.
I'm just waiting for Mike to. Yeah, real quick. I'm just waiting for Mike to release his 2023 calendar where every day has a FSU anniversary, because he's been working in this for years and he knows of FSU anniversaries that nobody does. So I need him to put together a 2023 calendar. That way we're better prepared.
No, I'm with it. I like it. FSU's women's hoops plays today against Notre Dame. They start in 12 minutes at 2 p.m. First 1,000 fans that are there receive a Lead Her Forward shirt. Today is the Play for K game. FSU's women will be wearing pink in today's matchup. Nice. So check them out against Notre Dame today. Softball had their fan day yesterday. They start their season this week, and baseball has their fan day this weekend, starts their season the next week. So the stickball sports will be back very soon.
We're going to get Mike on here next week.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. Harlan, hook us up. Maybe we'll get Mike and Lonnie on. We'll do a duo. Speaking of getting somebody on the show, Richie, do you have any shout outs before we get out of here? We got a shout out. We got one more thing, but then
shout out my best friend Weston, lives in Jupiter and sends me and my wife a text at 9:00 last night saying, "Hey, meet us at SeaWorld in the morning." Sorry, bro. I need more than 12 hours notice. I hope you guys have fun. But that's my only shout out.
That's hilarious. Shout out Brisas, shout out Gramco. I've been wearing the hat. None of these are official sponsors yet. But shout out Gramco, shout out Brisas. Doing a lot to support FSU on the back end, and then it'll all kind of come to light soon as well. Other than that, I don't think I have anything. We did an interview this week with Kaysen, the celebrity there in Tallahassee, 6-year-old legend who throws down the U. It feels a little sad to be doing this after FSU basketball is kind of taking a nosedive. But there was a time this season when we were the hottest team in the ACC, and try to hold on to those memories as we interview Kaysen. Check out that interview. It's like 10, 15 minutes long. It's really quick. It's really funny. Kid is hilarious. And then we will be back with you guys next Sunday, if not before then. I don't know if there's anything coming before then, but if not, we'll be back with you guys next Sunday. Until then, enjoy this interview with Kaysen, and go Noles. We are back on Double Fries No Slaw with a very special guest, the legend himself, Mr. Kaysen. Kaysen, how are you doing today? Good. So you have, I don't even know how to ask this, or like what your thoughts are, or what the family's thoughts are, but like you've become somewhat of a legend around FSU. For those that don't know, how old are you, Kaysen?
I'm really good.
How old are you?
How old are you?
And I'm 6.
6. So did you think when this basketball season started, did you think that you were going to be the team's like unofficial ambassador this year? Like, did you think this was all going to happen? Did you have it planned out, or no?
I
no
thought
clue.
This would never happen.
Did you? So you love is basketball your favorite sport?
I actually can't decide. I have 2 because football and basketball.
Football and basketball.
Good
so
man.
One of your favorite sports, and you. Okay, let's ask that first. Who's your favorite player on the team right now? Basketball team.
I have lots.
Yeah,
it's hard to decide because I like all the players.
Yeah.
Who are some of the ones you look at when they're on the court just playing? Like, I want to be like that guy out there.
Mm-hmm.
I like Matthew Cleveland, and I like him because he's a finisher. He can finish good.
Yeah.
And my second one I'm going to say is Caleb Mills because he's like a beast. All he has to do is shoot over someone. I mean, he had leading points at Clemson.
He gets on
Mills
fire.
Is my favorite player too.
Yeah, Mills is Richie's favorite. I think a lot of people are loving those 2 guys this year.
Yeah.
Both Mills and Cleveland. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. You did not expect all this to kind of take off and all this to happen, but they showed you up on the Jumbotron, correct? And on ESPN. So you were at the game against Miami. You didn't even know that it was on ESPN until mom and dad got a million texts and everything else. So
exactly.
You threw down the U. Can we get that? Can we get that official right here? I won't do it as well as you, but can we get one of those? You threw that down. I need to know. I mean, we've seen players do that in the past. We've seen DeMarcus Walker do that. We've seen, Timmy Jernigan did that well before you were here and with us and on the outside. What made you think to do that? Like, who did you learn that from?
Well, first I saw, the students. I saw the students on the Jumbotron, and I saw them doing the down and out. I was like, this is how I learned it. Dad, what are they doing? My dad was like, well, you know how Miami does the up you? They're mean to us. So we do the down you.
I love it. I love it. So you got caught not only on the Jumbotron, but on ESPN. Everyone's sharing your picture. Everyone's talking about it. You, I assume, didn't have social media because you're 6, like you talked about. But you're like famous. What was that like? Did your classmates ask you about it? Did they see you on TV? Like what was that newfound fame like?
It was like cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet.
My classmates were like, everyone in the class was like, I watched your video.
They probably didn't, just like you didn't expect it, they probably didn't expect to be going to school with a celebrity. Like they had, like you blew their mind too, right? So
it's pretty mind blowing.
Oh yeah.
So then we get into, you've had a feud with Barstool's Dave Portnoy since this whole thing started. Not a lot of people go toe to toe with Portnoy, but you have not shied away from this competition. And so you've taken not only the down were you and given that to Miami, who we then beat again a few days later, but you've got this war with Portnoy going on. And how does it, not many people could say this, but how does it feel to have won that war? To like come out on top and Florida State go 2-0.
But after the game that we won by 1 point, that was Miami's home court.
Yeah.
When it ended, we're like, we missed the basket. Remember, we were still up by 1. Mm-hmm. We missed the basket, and we're like, oh no, they're gonna score. And then at the buzzer beater, they missed it, and then our home got messy. You don't want to know how it happened. Everybody got hit by pillows. We threw up pills like confetti. It was so weird.
It called for a celebration for sure.
So what happened? So Dave sent you that message. What did he say to you, and how did all that go down?
He said that I was going to cry after the Miami game, but I showed him with the video of mine. I was like, with chocolate milk. I was like, never had a doubt. He's dead, so I was going to cry. So I made a video. I was like, hey, Dave, who's crying now? That was funny, actually.
It was amazing. No, and it went viral, and everyone shared it, and your fame grew. I'm glad that okay, let me just tell you, I did not feel good about that. When we missed at the end, and they had the last shot, Richie was on your team. Like, Richie never lost faith. I lost faith. I thought for sure that we had beat them at the last second. I thought they were going to beat us the last second, but I think God's a Seminole fan. So, like, it all worked out in our favor, and we ended up pulling off the victory. So, sure, with all that, you've been able to do some pretty cool things with your newfound fame. Did you think it was cool when Madison – had you been to Madison Social before? Were you familiar with them? But did you think it was pretty cool when the best BLT dip place in town reaches out and then says, we want to put your face on a T-shirt? Is that pretty cool?
Trust me, it was awesome.
They've put Jameis Winston on a T-shirt. They've put Leonard Hamilton on it. They've done stuff for Mike Martin, and they've done stuff for Kaysen too. Like, your name, like, you're like on that FSU Mount Rushmore now. Is that how you feel?
It's really cool, isn't it, Kaysen?
But it's given you a chance to be able to do some other really cool stuff. And I want to ask your mom about this too. We appreciate, April, you joining us as well.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
You guys have not only taken, some of the funds that are being raised from the MadSo shirts that are being sold and given back, but you've encouraged other businesses and local places in Tallahassee to do the same. So can you just talk to us a little bit about Madso reaching out, doing the shirts, what you guys are doing with those funds, and then how other people can get involved as well?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, when Matt reached out to us and asked us about doing a shirt with Kaysen, it was one of those things as a parent where you just kind of take a step back because he is only 6, and you want to make good choices for him, but also let him have his moment. And so we talked about it and we're like, well, this could be a good learning experience for Kaysen. We can use his platform, to show him how he can use it for good work. And we talked to him about it, and we had decided this could be a good opportunity for any money that he happens to make off of his shirts. We can donate it to charity. And we did some research on it, and we decided to go with the Hang Tough Foundation and First Tee Tallahassee. They are, 2 smaller charities. They're local. They don't get the big grant funding, so they rely pretty heavily. They rely solely, I guess, on private funding. So we were like, well, we're going to promise, $2,500 for Kaysen's part of it. But we thought it would be really cool if any businesses were on board with it and agreed with the message and wanted to help these charities too, that they could match it, so to speak. So, we've asked businesses if they're willing and comfortable and able at this time to do like $500 or even up to the full match of $2,500. That would be great. It would make a big difference for the youth and the kids in our local community through those charities.
So I want to ask, Kaysen, when that first Miami game happened and it went viral, then you're back for the Duke game. And at that point, you'd already got the attention of all of Florida State fans, especially on social media. 2 things. Just how exciting was that Duke game to be at? What a fun game. And then,
I know. I missed the Duke game, Kaysen. Can you tell us how fun it was?
Yeah. Mom missed the game so our neighbors could come.
Yeah, he filled in my spot. But what all did you get to do, and how fun was it?
We got to go in
I saw you with the band a little bit.
The Whataburger race?
The Whataburger rally races.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody loves Whataburger.
Yeah. So that was fun, and you got to play with the band, right? Didn't you go down?
How cool is that? Because I saw you beating the drum, I thought, on one video there.
Did you get to beat the drum?
Oh, yeah.
April, I have you real quick. I have to ask because I was super jealous. 6-year-old Richie going way back, 20 plus years ago. Right. I was jealous that Kaysen got to go to a 9:00 game on a weeknight. How did he convince you to make that happen? That's some pretty that's a pretty big move right there.
I know. Well, we talked about it, and after what had happened at the Miami game, he had such a good time, and he is used to maybe keeping a little later hours because he does have an older brother that's 9, so he probably does tend to stay up a little late sometimes. But I told my husband, I'm like, you only live once, and what did you say? Yeah, well, and truthfully, he almost didn't get to go. We had actually asked another friend to take his place too, and they weren't able to. So kind of by default, he got to.
Yeah. So, all right, Kaysen, we were asking about football. We were talking about football a little bit. I think that you're kind of putting yourself in a good position with some of these coaches, showing like your loyalty at such a young age. What I do want to know is what sport you're planning on playing when you get to FSU.
It's hard decision.
I know.
Talk about how you football and catching and all that.
Yeah, I have sticky hands, so I'm a great catcher.
Okay.
So you could maybe play for Coach Norvell and Coach Martin. Are you going to play baseball? Like, are you going to, like Jameis was playing 2 sports, different guys that play 2 sports. Would you play 2 sports at once, or are you kind of like a solo guy?
Which 2 do you think you want to play?
Deion Sanders played 2 sports.
That's perfect.
Jason dropping knowledge in here.
And Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward did too. Yeah. Basketball as well. So what would be your 2 sports? If you had to pick 2 sports, what are you doing?
Basketball, football.
I love it. I need you to win a Heisman just like Charlie. I need all of those things. You got some time.
That would be awesome.
You've got some time to get ready. So not a lot of pressure right now, but we'll be back in like 10, 11 years.
That's right. He loves it. He plays basketball now, so he's pretty heavy into it.
Have you been to the Leonard Hamilton basketball camp before yet? Or is that going to be this year the first time?
Well, so we have a 9-year-old, and he actually attended the camp last year for the first time as an 8-year-old.
Nice.
And they do an amazing job with that camp. You know, just thinking about the wide age range of kids that go there, and then them spending all day there with those kids and, you know, college students, it's kind of like, oh, you know, because it's a big gap.
Yeah.
But they do a phenomenal job with that camp. And honestly, like Coach Hamilton has done an amazing job with the basketball program in general. I mean, me and my husband, we talk about this, like you never hear of the kids getting in trouble. They all graduate. They're successful after college. And it just, you know, as a parent, it's really cool when your kids love a program that is just a good, solid program with good kids and good role models. It just really, I don't know, it makes it even better being an FSU fan and your kids loving them too. Did you guys
go to Florida State, Mom and Dad? Did you grow up in Tallahassee?
I did not go to Florida State, but my husband did. He graduated in 2007. And actually Kaysen's great grandparents even graduated from Florida State. They were missionaries, so they went later in life, but I would say most of our family that has graduated from college all went to Florida State for the most part.
Cool. No, that's awesome. What is older? Last one I've got, and then I'll let Richie kind of wrap us up and we'll get out of here. We appreciate you guys' time, but what does Big Brother think about this? Is he supportive? Is there some jealousy in there, Kaysen? Does he wish he was famous?
So, you know, at first there is the moment where it's like, wait a minute, what is happening here? I'm the older brother, and his older brother is, you know, he kind of has that leadership type personality, and, you know, in general anyways, but he really has come on board and is supportive. He jokes now that he's his manager. And we call him like his bodyguard too. When they take him off at the games, we're like, go with your brother and make sure he's okay. So he's definitely on board now for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a graduate of Florida State's sport management program, so just need to get Big Brother in there so he'll graduate by the time Kaysen's ready to make his entrance to the professional realms.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I have one last question, but going back to Hamilton basketball camp real quick, I'm just curious because I talk to a lot of people that go to it or bring kids there. Who was his favorite counselor? So current player on the team that was there, because I know they're heavily involved with it. Or April, who did you see that was really involved? Because I love hearing those stories.
Yeah. Well, Keegan's actually here. He can tell you kind of what about the camp and stuff, if that's okay.
Yeah, bring him on.
Bring him in. Bring him in.
Yeah. Jumping in.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Yeah.
Come on, jump in for my
Come sit right here. Just kind of stand behind him, Keegs, or lean over.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? The manager.
That's right. So your mom was telling us that you finally got to go to Leonard Hamilton's basketball camp for the first time. And I know a lot of people that attended or taken kids there. Who was your counselor, and what players did you really enjoy being around? Because that seems like such a cool experience for a Florida State basketball fan, especially at a young age.
Yeah, my first counselor for the first week, my counselor was Malik Osborne.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Cleveland Yates was his name, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool to be around like Malik Osborne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hope he can get better and come back healthy next year, because that's a big one. But I was just telling your mom, I'm excited for you to get into the sport management program and become Kaysen's agent here in the future. I see that sibling love right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, real quick, just again, give us a recap of where we can support anyone who wants to support. Obviously, you mentioned you guys are doing a lot of good things on top of what MadSo and everything else is doing. So I want you to have a chance to tell where Florida State fans can go to support, because we always push the boosters. We're pushing name, image, and likeness. We want to support all Seminoles on this podcast.
Yeah. So the shirts are for sale on Madison Social's website. You can go there to actually purchase the shirt. And then if you want to link up, if you're a business that you want to get connected with us, we have a Gmail account for Kaysen, and it's Kaysen, Cason, for Knowles, So it's the number 4, the Knowles, Kaysen for Knowles at gmail.com. And then Kaysen also has a Twitter and an Instagram account, and those are both Kaysen for Knowles as well. And so you guys can reach out to us, and we can link you guys up with the charities and the businesses for that.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys for taking some time and chatting today. No, this is our youngest interview, hopefully, that we ever do. I have a 3-year-old, and I couldn't imagine somebody reached out to me. I feel like a crazy person asking to reach out and interview somebody's kids, but we thought you guys had a really good story. He's also a celebrity now, so rules are a little bit different. And so we wanted to help support anything that we could that's FSU related or giving back to charity or the good things that you guys have going on. So we appreciate it a ton.
And, we appreciate it too, just being able to get it out there because, people listen and learn from different methods or whatever. And it's been a good experience for Kaysen too. He's been at school all day today. So
he's ready to go play.
We're stretching it a little much, but
yeah,
I hope we gave y'all something y'all can work with anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to. I was up at the Virginia Tech game last week, and they showed him up on the jumbotron again. And I looked over at my wife, and I was like, "I'm gonna interview that kid this week." And she's like, "You do too many interviews." But anyway, so we appreciate you guys for hanging out, and look forward to seeing you for several more years to come. The whole family, thank you guys so much, and go Knowles.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Go Knowles.
All right, thanks, Kaysen. Thanks, April.
All right, thanks. See you guys later.
Bye.
All right, take care.